You are now watching Surveillance. Donate or subscribe for more sick twists.
Alright, well, welcome to my Phase 3 document video. This is actually a re-recording. My first recording had some audio issues, some static, and it was just a little bit too quiet. There was just some problem with my equalizer program. When I dual boot into Linux, it just stopped working. So I just went ahead and fixed that, and I decided to re-record this video. So some of you guys have already seen a lot of what's in this video if you caught the first version that came out before I took it down. But I decided to fix a few things that were wrong in the first video and to fix the audio issues and just knock all that stuff out at the same time. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here's a table of contents. It basically, you can just click on these hyperlinks. They'll take you to whatever section you want to see ahead of time. I'm going to try to blast through this stuff really fast so the video doesn't end up being really, really long. So here's our donate links, by the way. If you guys like what we do, you want to donate to me or Frostbitten, you guys can hit those links right there and send us a tip. So let's go ahead and get started. The first section is briefing and talents. It really talks about how we don't really need DSAC anymore, except for maybe a little bit in progress. Your guild might want you to have it, but it's really not necessary. So we consider sticking to AM in general throughout the whole phase. As you guys know, Divine Guardian is a DPS loss, 1% per point. You guys all know that stuff. AM is solid in a lot of different places in TOGC, and the cooldowns themselves are just a lot less necessary. So now you also don't need to change glyphs much in TOGC at all, unless you want to change for faction champions, but that doesn't even count on logs. So also AM spec can easily pick up the flavor talents like Vindication, Divine Purpose, Swift Retribution. Divine Purpose is going to be important later on, so keep that in mind. Obviously, you guys know what the specs already look like. Don't need to go into that. Gemming. So this is a chart that shows the DPS gain per epic gem. As you can see, Retribution is near the top, so you definitely want to get your epic gems as soon as possible in your best gear. How do we gem our gear? Well, if we're under the hit cap, we will gem hit until the cap. If we are at the cap, then we will gem pure strength. If there is a decent socket bonus that requires a yellow gem, you can use Inscribe now because the tier 9 2-piece bonus has given us improved crit scaling. That means that we can use multiple Inscribe gems in all of our best in slot sets and gain some DPS. So also expertise is unfortunately still weaker as a gem than strength, so we're probably not going to be using expertise gems at least until ICC. Now the math for Inscribe gems in a single yellow slot is you want to have that socket bonus be worth at least 4 strength, 6 crit, 7 agility, 8 haste, or 10 AP/ARP. Okay? Does that make sense? So as long as the socket bonus is at least that would be worth using an Inscribe gem for a single yellow slot. Tribute chest, trophies, and emblem gear explained. So basically the tribute chest is what you get at the end of the raid after you've killed everything, and the amount of loot you get depends on how many wipes and attempts you have. So, the 10-man heroic, actually I think this is, it's not just a Nubarak, it's the whole raid, I believe. But I will double check that. I will double check that, but I do believe that it is just it's the whole raid that counts. But I'll double check and I'll update the document if I'm wrong about that. I'm not sure. So, anyways, so you get this chest at the very end of the raid, and depending on how many attempts you have left, as you can see here, these are the rules. And there's also mounts like the 10-man mount and the 25-man mount. You can see the rules for those there. Anyways, so the Regalias is what you use to get the 258 eye level gear. And the trophies are for the 245 eye level gear, and then the 232 eye level gear is just emblems. So you can see that down here below. We have all the currencies you're going to need for every different gear item, the 232 and the 245, and then below that you can see that the 258 item level, it just needs 1 regalia and nothing else. So we don't really recommend buying the 232 item level stuff unless you just don't get a trophy for a long time. We recommend asking your guild to get 2 trophies ASAP so you can buy 245 and not waste your emblems. Because if you buy a 232, you're still going to have to spend emblems on 245. and it's just kind of a waste of emblems to get both. So now what do you want to buy first? Well, probably Libram of Valiance and then 2-piece tier. Like, it's just a no-brainer. After that, you can just get whatever you want. Which tier item depends on your current gear. Most people are going to get gloves and shoulders, but like if you're going for the axe setup, which uses an off-piece chest, you wouldn't want to buy the chest piece. So if you get an axe, you wouldn't want to buy that. If you have the current like best in slot for phase 2, which is 0-piece, then you probably just want to go gloves and shoulders. You're not going to equip them until you have both of them anyway. So the legs are also a great early option because they're stacked with expertise, but especially if you don't have FL legs. However, you might not end up using these in your bis set if you get the mace. So I would just recommend against getting the chest early and then taking a look at your gear and seeing what you might want. So here is our phase 3 gear tier list. I'm going to go through this kind of fast. Not a whole lot to talk about here. The 252 item level stuff from Ulduar is still going to be relevant. None of them are best in slot unless you're a dwarf, in which case the boots are. But most of them are just barely worse. Let me fix this real quick. All right, so helm, it's really just the tier 9 helm, war helm, and boundless gaze that you want to be paying attention to. Most of you guys probably have war helm already, and if you don't, tier 9 helm is pretty easy to get. So that's pretty much all that's important for helm slot. I mean, judgment hood is still decent if you if you don't get anything else, but it's not great. So don't rely on it. You don't want to stick with that for too long. But yeah, also you're probably going to need to keep your helm, your like war helm equipped until you go for 4-piece because that's just how it's going to work out for most people. So neck slot, there's 2 necks that are in the highest tier. Top one is a little bit better, but the Charge of the Demon Lord allows you to drop some hit in some sets, which can give you some DPS. They're not massive upgrades to the 3 Ulduar necks, which is these 252s here and this Strength of the Heavens. Those 3 aren't that far behind these necks, so it's not a huge deal. But the hit neck here is really important for going for a 4-piece setup. So shoulder slot, really just Intruder and tier 9. Most people are going to get tier 9 really early on, probably for their 2-piece. So it's going to get replaced early if you have Intruder. Cloak slot, now these cloaks, these 272 cloaks come from 50 attempts left on the tribute chest, so that's going to be hard to get. And keep in mind, these are a lot better than the Ulduar ones. You can also go with there's 10-man cloaks like these. These are 10-man cloaks. Or no, sorry. This one, 50 attempts, 10-man. And so you can go for those until you get the 272. You shouldn't really go for the agility one, even though some of the sets use the agility one, because other classes are going to want that way more. It's going to be way better for them, so don't even think about it. Chest slot, you have the best chest is one that it's the best standalone stat item, but it's not going to be used in any of our major sets that are best. Really what you want is either Cruel Intent or Calamitous Fate, or tier 9. Which, as you can see, is all the way down here in A because it's an RPen item. So the Calamitous Fate and Cruel Intent are basically the same, although Cruel Intent has Intellect, I believe, so you're going to want that one a little bit more, although it doesn't really make a big difference, obviously. It's just hard to make this chest work, so it's just too much hit, especially if you're in alliance with a Drain Eye buff. You're just going to be way over the hit, and you lose some DPS because of that. So wrist slot, really just these top 2 bracers from phase 3 and your top 2 bracers from Ulduar. Everything else is not super important. So if you have armbands of Bedlam, you might just end up using these all the way to ICC because that makes a lot of sense. These armbands are hard to get. They are mail, I believe, and they have like hit and crit and AP on them, so they're a little bit contested. Actually, they might even be leather, but I'll have to double check on that. And these ones might be a little bit easier for you to get, but they're still a little bit of a tough ask. So if you have armbands of Bedlam, I'd probably just stick with those. But yeah. So glove slot. So tier 9 gloves, Steady Hand, and Bitter Reprisal. These are pretty much your 3 main gloves. Tier 9, a lot of people are going to go with right out of the gate. So Bitter Reprisal is used in the 2-piece sets, and Steady Hand is still decent, but it's hard to make that hit work for you. So Bitter Reprisal is a tough ask for a Paladin because it's RPen. Even though the item level is high, it's ARPN. So if you're going for the 2-piece setup, you're probably gonna have a tough time. Belt slot, Bloodbath Girdle is pretty much the only thing to pay attention to here. Some sets use this, which is Merciless Pitiless Killer, but those are not sets that we recommend going for, but you'll see them later. And then these 2 belts are still great, especially Soul Devouring Kin, which is only like 25 DPS behind Bloodbath. So if you have that, you can stick with that. It won't be a big loss. Leg slot, you have tier 9 legs, and Broken Beast and Ascension. Although you probably won't use Broken Beast, they are not used in any of our sets. They're a really good standalone item, especially because they have hit, but we just can't use that hit in any of our sets to make it work. Most people are going to go with tier 9 or the leg plates of Ascension here. And then if you have FL legs, you know, those are still going to be pretty solid. So also the tier legs are a little bit easier when you go into ICC for itemization. If you go with the axe setup and the tier leg setup, it's a little bit more of a easier transition, smoother transition into the ICC gear. So boot slot, you have 7th Legion and Serenite Citadel, which is our best boots. They're pretty easy to get because DKs don't want them. DKs want the Lifeless Knight boots from Algalon. And if you have Lifeless Knight already, those are still solid. If you're a dwarf, those will be BIS because you can't use the expertise from Serenite Citadel, 7th Legion. So Lifeless Knight are still solid though. Ring slot, you have these top 3. This Seal of the Trade King from Ulduar. Although this is still really good, it's hard to fit hit into your ring slot, especially in like a BIS set. So you might end up doing something like this where you have like a Violet Temperament and then your other ring would be Callous Aggression, but that's a tough ask. So until you get it, you might use something like Brand's Signet Ring, or if you can use the hit, then you'd use Betrayed King. But if you can't use the hit, probably stick with Brand's if you have it. So Callous Aggression is a tough ask once again. And yeah, it's Seal of the Trade King will probably last you to ICC if you already have it. So Trinket slot, now this is all about Death's Verdict, obviously. These 3 trinkets, you guys can use whichever one you want. It doesn't really matter. They're all great. They're all about the same. Now, if you want the best parsing, like the best parsing RNG potential, you want Comet Trail. If you want the most consistent, you want Dark Matter. That has the highest floor, so it's going to... it doesn't parse very low very often, but it also doesn't like go very high, so it doesn't have much RNG to it. Dark Moon, Hard Greatness is right in the middle, and it's very consistent. It's just, I kind of don't like it because sometimes you can get a proc from a Sacred Shield or a Flash of Light at a time when you don't want it, so I don't like that. I'll probably use Dark Matter myself, but you guys can go with whatever you want. Market Supremacy is alright if you can use the hit, but that's going to be probably never happen. And Wrathstone is okay. Here's our Death's chart, Death's Verdict chart. This shows you the DPS gain between every class. And as you can see, red is near the top for pretty much everything. So you guys can check that out. Also, Retin and Holy are likely to use the Trinket the entire game because our Phase 5 Trinket is only like barely better. And also Dark Matter falls off for Ferals in Phase 3 because they get crit capped. So here's a realistic Trinket progression for us, Phase 3 to Phase 5. As you can see, we're going to start with Death's Choice and Greatness, and then we'll swap Greatness to Tiny Abomination in a Jar in Phase 4, and keep that the rest of the game. Now in Phase 5, you could use Sharpened Twilight Scale instead of Death's Choice here, but you're only going to get a minor gain out of that, and another class will probably get way more out of it. So, weapon slot, top 2 weapons, you're going to use one of these, the Axe or the Mace. Now, the Mace is strictly a little bit better because it has a little bit more favorable stats for us. However, the Axe allows you to use tier legs, which are better than the tier chest, which is what the Mace set uses. So these 2 sets are going to end up being pretty similar within 5 DPS or so. You're going to either use the Axe and a chest off piece or a Grievance Mace with the legs off piece. The Mace is uncontested, so you'll probably get it early on. But the Axe will make a smoother transition to Shadow's Edge and ICC, so you might want to get one of those, regardless. Now, there's no reason to do a Cleave ranking here because all the weapons that are important are the same speed, so it doesn't matter. It's just going to mirror this ranking exactly. Also, take your racial expertise bonuses into account. If you have a racial expertise bonus on a certain weapon, move it up 1 sub-tier, so like A to A+, etc. However, be warned that in a number of different possible sets you're going to end up with this phase, the racial expertise bonus will be wasted without a way to gain any DPS from dropping expertise. So watch out for that. Libram slot, Libram of Valiance is huge. It's like 300 DPS gain. It only works with Seal of Vengeance, so you're going to want a PvP Libram for Cleave encounters. However, on a fight like a noob, you know, you can still run Valiance full time because it procs from the SOV dot. So when you switch into command to cleave the ads, you can still have the buff get refreshed by your still ticking dot. And then for like a pure cleave encounter, which there are none of in phase 3 except for faction champions, and that doesn't even count on the logs, you're going to want your best PvP Libram. But that being said, we're still probably going to be running Libram of Valiance on every fight in phase 3, except for maybe faction champs. Let me just fix that real quick. So your deadly your furious no longer has a requirement, and your relentless now will be coming out with an 1800 requirement, so you can get either one of those depending on if you PvP or not. The delta on Valiance is just way over the one on Furious, so you're always going to want to use Valiance when you're able to. Now our tier set bonuses, tier 2 is way bigger than tier 4, or I'm sorry, 2 set is way bigger than 4 set. You have 290, 250 DPS-ish from RV being able to tick and crit while it ticks, compared to just 5% chance on Judgment. So this is a single target boss, 180 seconds. Also, in early ICC, the two-piece will be really good, using both tier 9 and tier 10. So that'll be solid. The 2-piece is really important, the 4-piece is not. So now we have our best in slot sets. Now, disclaimer, while simming the sets, there's a bug. Keep yourself below 360 spell haste or you'll end up with this bug. We're investigating it. We don't know anything about it yet, but stay under that and you should be good. So it doesn't really affect our DPS anyway, so it should be fine. Now, here is a screen cap of the sheet, and you can also click this link and it'll take you to the sheet itself. But actually need to fix that to a published link, but anyways, you can see all the sets, all the different sets there. See all the different sets there, and then as you can see, actually I think I need to update this, refresh this once. There we go. So now that this is updated, you can see Axe and Mace set are about the same for everything, like even for Alliance, Axe and Mace are about the same. Mace pulling ahead just a little bit here for Alliance, but they're mostly the same. You can pretty much go with whichever one you want. It's not going to make a big difference. And then down here, you know, there's a little bit more descriptions on each of the sets, but nothing that's too important for you guys to know. And then as you can see, Dwarf has their own set, which uses the Algalon boots, and yeah, but the Draenei and humans will use the same sets. There's no human set. It's just Dwarf set, Alliance set, Horde set. That's all. So, yeah. So you guys can peek those sets if you guys want. Link to that will be in the description, as well as the link to this document. So, single target stat priority, hit, strength, expertise, crit, agi, haste, AP equals Arpen. So, pretty straightforward. You want to get hit capped first, and then strength, everything strength after that. For Cleave, there's not really a Cleave set this tier because all of the fights are either purely single target or like single target with periodic limited adds, like a noob, with the exception of faction champions, which does not count on logs once again. So single target set is most likely to be expertise and hit capped or close to it, because like there's so much expertise floating around, so you probably won't be making any swaps on a noob, or even like when you go back to Ulduar and do Kolagharn, you probably still won't make a swap because your single target set will probably already be optimal. And so I don't have like Cleave stat weights for you guys or a Cleave set because there is none, but I will give you guys the Cleave stat priority, in which you can see hit, expertise, strength. So expertise has gotten more important than strength for cleaving. And then the only other difference is AP is now better than Arpen instead of being equal to Arpen. So that's pretty much most of the document. Now there's the TOGC boss guide. We're not going to cover this yet. That's going to be in a later video later this week. I'm going to make a video, or it's going to be a live stream, but it'll be with Terran and Frostbitten, and we will talk TOGC boss guide and talk all the bosses, but that'll be coming later. However, you guys can already go ahead and read through it, see what we already have set up for you guys, but this is all subject to change with new information or whatever, although I'm pretty confident with it so far. So let me know if you guys have any better strategies we can employ here, but I think it's pretty solid. But anyways, there will be a new video later this week that will have the boss guide. So the only other thing I want to talk to you guys about is the spell priority, same as before, same as phase 2. And then there's a Cleave priority here if you guys didn't see that. This came out not super long ago. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check that out. It keeps Judge pretty low, so if you get low on mana, you're going to have to start prioritizing Judge more. And then here is a screen cap of the weak aura so that you can enter the priorities into the weak aura just by typing in the same numbers. So we're going to update that at the beginning of every phase, but it's staying the same for now. So and then down here at the bottom, we have all of our external links to different, extra information. So I think that just covers pretty much about everything. Now we haven't figured out where to use Avenging Wrathglyph yet, but once, that'll come with the boss guide. So I'll let you guys know if we figure anything out about that. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. So I don't want to get this video too much longer. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and let me know down in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry for having to release this video twice and re-record and all that stuff. I wanted to make sure the audio didn't sound terrible, and I wanted to fix a few things, like the mace set had a few gems that somebody brought to my attention were wrong, and I fixed that and everything. So anyways, hope you guys have a good one. Enjoy raiding this phase. Stay tuned for my new video next week. I'm thinking Monday, but it might be a little bit later than that. And that's pretty much it. If you guys want to support the channel, you can check us out down below in the description, or you guys can check out the download or the donate links in the document and donate to me or Frostbitten. So thanks you guys for supporting the channel, and we'll see you guys next time.
This show was brought to you by Light Club, where monkeys go to church.